Yeah, and welcome to it, the DNA podcast
Welcome, everybody.
with Coach Dom. I'm Coach Al. This is the first in the line of many, our pilot run at this thing, but hopefully we can get you guys some good information and promote what we're doing. This broadcast brought to you by DNA Sports Training.
Yes, sir.
Any specialized training from football to track, we'll get you hooked up, get you worked out so you can be the best on the field and hopefully reach them higher levels in which we all hope to achieve. Dom, what's up, man?
Nothing much, man. Just ready to get the show started. Excited about our journey we're about to go on, and ready to educate and bring some entertainment to our fans out there and our viewers. We hope to grow this thing to high magnitude of success on and off the field.
It's gonna be fun because I've broadcasted before, but I've never done my own podcast, and hooking up with you to do this, man, I think it's gonna be fun. I think we got a lot of great ideas. We bounce back off each other on the field, so I think taking that out to the podcast world and kind of helping bring people to our website and to do what we're doing. Those that don't know, website will be dnasportsdenver.com, and you go on there. You catch this podcast. You can book sessions with us. Like I said, any individualized session from football, track and field. I mean, we'll get coaches out here to do baseball, and we're looking to expand this thing across everything besides just what we know and what we're comfortable with. So we look forward to you guys joining us going forward and making sure we can make this thing pop, man. We're gonna be the Rogans of the sports world.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, my mentality with anything is if I don't know it, I'm gonna learn it. I'm not gonna just go through it. I'm gonna grow through it. So if there's a sport that you play out there and we don't specifically specialize in that, we're gonna bring the experts in to make sure that we get you to where you need to be, and also we get to where we need to be as coaches, so that way we can grow ourselves while we grow you.
Watch out with Coach Dom over here with the freestyles and get that boy going, man. He mess around and rap the whole day away. I just want to briefly talk about, we kind of did a little bit, I want to briefly talk about DNA Sports Training, what it is from your angle. You kind of touched on it. Let's just go a little bit more. I know from my angle, I specialize in offensive line play, also specialize in shot put and discus. Again, though, like Coach Dom said, we've been around varsity sports for a very long time. Our ability to learn has been great, but also our ability to understand what we don't know and to bring in people that do know is also big too. So, Coach, tell us about your background a little bit. Tell us about yourself and what you're excited about with DNA.
Well, first things first, I'm a defensive line coach, pass rush specialist specifically. And, I'm going to bring everything from the attitude, the mentality of the game, and my philosophies and effort and energy and everything to the field that I think defensive line needs in order to be successful on the field. I also have a background in strength and conditioning, speed and agility. We'll be bringing that, basketball. I'm starting to dabble in softball a little bit and learn a little bit about that sport as well. But basically defensive line wise, it's a mentality, it's an attitude, and that's what I want to bring to this podcast, as well as my coaching philosophy within DNA Sports itself.
That's what I'm talking about. And you are a softball dad now. I forget about that.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. I used to umpire a little bit. Baseball, and I did a couple of softball games, but I didn't know the game well enough to really be comfortable. But it's always fun in the sun, dude, and it's always cool. You see them crazy dads out there cheering on their daughters. So I imagine that's something like what Dom is over here.
Yeah, before this journey, I really wasn't too big of a fan of the diamond in particular. I played it a little bit, but just going to the game sometimes took a lot of endurance as a fan while you're out there in the crowd underneath that sun, but going out there watching my daughter on that diamond pitch, she's at the mound pitching, learning how to pitch, and she's doing great, brings great energy to the field, and watching those other girls just grow together in such a short period of time, it's great to see. Their coaches out there are doing a really great job.
Softball to me seems a little bit quicker, but baseball for sure seems like one of them sports that, man, if you're watching it on TV, you're not paying attention as much. You're more listening to it. Being there at the stadium, like going down to Coors Field and watching the baseball game, that's fun. Sometimes though, it's funner because you're having a couple of cold ones with some friends and whatnot. I think it's more of the company you keep with that. But I've enjoyed baseball. My older son, he played baseball for years, and I enjoy watching him play and going to the games and doing everything we did. We went all the way out to Cooperstown with that and saw the Hall of Fame and all that.
Nice.
So I definitely enjoy it a little bit, even though it can be a little tedious watching.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I liked seeing a kid turn a double play or someone smacking the ball out of a park or just seeing a pitcher that just, no one's hitting the ball from. But, at the same time, football is why I am so in love with the sports in general, team sports and individualized sports and things like that. And football is my love and my passion. And it's kind of hard to really focus on other things when all you think is football 24/7.
Well, and you got a kid playing now, so that you got two kids playing. One kid playing football, one kid playing softball and basketball and everything else. So I think it's like any father, they kind of gain the interest of what their kids are interested in, and it grows on you. I don't think. Like I said, I wasn't particularly fond of baseball, but watching my son play baseball, I developed a love for him playing baseball, and I think at the younger levels too. I think elementary and high school, those levels of any sport, really, it's more exciting because you're watching the kids learn, you're watching the kids grow, and they start out as this kid that can't even make contact or can't get the ball over the plate, and then after some time, man, they're freaking putting it in there, they're sending it over the fence. So watching their growth, I mean, I know as a father, just seeing my kids grow and do things that they didn't expect that they can do, that's where it's at for me, man. I don't really care about anything else. I don't care if it wins or losses, to be honest with you.
Yep,
it's watching them get better and become an athlete that they're hoping to be. Dude, that's where it's at.
Growth and progression, that's what it's all about.
And that's what we're all about at DNA, is getting you from point A to point B. So if you're at a 5.40, we're looking to get you to 5 flat under 5. We're looking to make you a better athlete. We're looking to make you a better person, and at the same time, we're making ourselves better coaches, better people. So,
and one thing to that as well is we're not gonna, we're gonna be focused on getting you to that point too. The fastest to point A to point B is a straight line, and we're going to make sure that we focus on what you need to get better at, and we're going to really, really get in depth with how we're going to get you to where you want to be in the shortest period of time.
It's important you say that too, because I think efficiency is always important, and I think a lot of times as an athlete, if you're not sure about something, you can sit there spinning your tires and not being as efficient with your workouts, with what you're learning, with what you're doing, and you can waste a lot of time. And time's important, man. I mean, you don't got off season's only so long.
Yeah, man, and we could talk about it. We're high school coaches, like you said, many years of varsity football and things of that nature, varsity track for you, and you see the kids that come into the high school programs and during the youth, and no knock to any youth coaches out there. I'm a youth coach myself, and that's where I started. But a lot of youth coaches put kids in certain positions where when they get to high school, they're focused on playing a position that they're not really built for, and it's a lot of wasted time when you're talking about sports because, once you get into high school, those 4 years just fly right by. And most of the kids that we see from senior year, they regret not really focusing on the sport that they loved and putting that time in to get to where they need to be. And once they're a senior, they're saying, oh, coach, I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have did that. And then they're those mentors for those younger kids to say, hey, you really need to focus, So that's why with DNA Sports, we want to kind of focus on what you need to do as an athlete to get better at the young age. If you're going out to play quarterback, then we're going to make sure that you stay in shape to play quarterback. We're going to make sure that you have the strength to play quarterback, the fundamentals and everything else of that nature. If you're built as an offensive lineman, then we're going to make sure that you're the best offensive lineman out there. We're not going to waste your time saying, hey, dude, you should run the ball. No, because every position on the field is an important piece to the puzzle, and if you focus on the position that you start at, you're going to be a better chance at being a really top-end athlete at the high school level.
My son played for this dude named Jesse Lopez, and he played baseball for him for a number of years. And Jesse, I think he's a coach over at Stanley Lake High School right now, if I'm not mistaken. Or he was. I'm not sure if he's still coaching. However, the thing that Jesse used to, the thing I respected most about him and I used to love about him the most was he had the mindset of like we were just talking about, where he's a younger little league coach, right? He's preparing these kids for their next level, which their next level is working up towards high school, and he's not necessarily molding them in a certain way. His philosophy used to always be like, yo, I don't care if we lose or we win. Obviously we want to win, but my goal is to get you guys ready for the next level. My goal is to get you guys ready for high school. So when you go into high school, it's not a culture shock to you. You kind of understand what to expect, what to look for, and you know, hey, I've tried these several different positions, because he wasn't afraid to put a kid that maybe should have been a first baseman. Hey, let's try you out a second, third. Let's try you out in the outfield. Get you some looks elsewhere. Just so that they know that, hey, it ain't always going to work out the way you want it to be. Sometimes, you know, you come in thinking this and you end up that. Lord knows I wanted to be a tight end forever in my life as a freshman, but I came in 5'10", 240 pounds. Coach is like, yo, offensive line.
Oh, yeah. I never met those height requirements, you know what I mean? So I had to realize at a real young age that, you know, I had to stick to being on the line or maybe coming off the edge as a outside linebacker or something when I was a little faster, you know, and smaller. But as soon as I put on these pounds, I knew it was D-line, O-line for me, and that was it. And so, you know, I focused on falling in love with that position, and that's why I'm here today, you know, because I would never want to play another position. If I had a choice to go back and change it, I wouldn't change it. The only thing I would change is I would have stopped playing around thinking I could have been another position, and I would have really focused as a young man on defensive line, offensive line, because, you know, like I said, it takes time on and off the field to really fine-tune your skill set. You know, you see these pass rushers in the NFL and college and even the elite ones in high school. They don't take no time off. You know, they're focused. They're laser focused on what they want to do. And every day is a progression, you know, whether they're working hands and feet every single day. You know, they're working on new moves. They're looking at their peers and they're seeing their peers do certain things and they're saying, how does he do that? I want to do that. Yep. You know, it's a sponge game. It's a growing game, and you learn and you soak up game from others and you apply it to your own, you know, and
it's all copycat. I mean, it's like that with play calling. It's like that with types of offense that are being run. It's like that with type of defense that are being run. Everything's really copycat. You see success and you want to emulate it, and I think that's the most important thing too. And that's why I always tell our kids that we coach, like, hey, go do some studying. Like, who's your favorite defensive lineman, or who's your favorite offensive lineman, or who's your favorite at the position you play? Go study that person. Go study other greats like that person, because there's no better teacher than someone that's doing it the right way. There's no better teacher than someone that's excelling and succeeding. And I think that's like, you take that in anything in life, bro. If you surround yourself by success, or you envision success and you study success, you're more likely to find the success you're looking for. Whereas if you don't put in that extra work and you don't really care to find out what it's supposed to look like, you're more than likely probably not gonna reach the pinnacle of what you're trying to reach. But you know, I think it's important, man. I think going forward, you know, I look forward to just tapping into some of these kids, man, and letting them find that next level. I know this year with track, I kind of talked to you a little bit about a couple of kids that I had, and these kids come in never doing the sport in their life, man, never throwing a shot put in their life. And I think next year, if they put in the work this off season, next year they can go to state. And I got 3 that I'm looking to take to state next year, and all 3 of them, you know, high school career is the only time they've ever even touched or seen a shot put. And
yeah, that's great, man. That's great to hear, you know, and it's great that you already have that vision for them and the focus to get them to where they need to be. And, you know, for a lot of those players out there, if you're listening right now, when you have a coach that really is emphasizing your growth and your ability and his goals for you and what he can see you do, believe in it like he believes in it. Because if you guys believe in each other and you put in that work together, the success, it'll be unmatched, you know. And it's not always in wins and losses, like you said before, but it's progression. You know, you go to state, you may not take state or whatever, but you may go compete in state, and then you might be able to see, you know what, coach, I progressed this year, and I want to thank you, because I never threw a disc in my life, and I was competing out there with state champions. So, you know, the sky's the limit, but you also have to believe in your coach like your coach believes in you, and put in that same amount of work that he's willing to put in.
For sure. And I think it's, as a coach, I think that's what I try to do, is just try to be that belief system. Like, you might not see it, but I see it, right?
Yeah.
And I think you can see it happens in football a lot, but I definitely see it in track, because track, whether you win or lose, like, you're getting a time, right?
Yeah.
You're getting a mark, you're getting a distance. And so you're going to see, oh, shoot, I ran, a 12.5 in the 100 before. Now I'm running a 12 flat. Now it's getting under 12. I used to throw 30 feet. Now I'm throwing 35. Now I'm throwing 40. Now I'm placing in events. Like, it's tangible, even though you don't win or whatever. It's tangible, and not to mention the fact that you're competing against yourself. And the same thing with football. Like, in football, you used to get beat around the edge a lot. Then now you worked on your step, you got your step right, and you're able to secure that edge a little bit more, right? And you live, you learn, you make friends on the field, and you kind of have these rivalries that kind of push your growth, and that's important to have, man. You can't be afraid to have these friendly rivalries with other people on the field, even if it's your teammates, if it's your opponent, because ultimately that's what kind of pushes you to get better.
Yeah, that competition, that friendly competition is great. When we're out there, we're coaching, Coach Al and I, we're constantly just bashing each other when, competing. My D-line's going to beat your O-line, and your O-line isn't going to do squat type of situation.
Man, I've got videos of this man bumping his gums in the shed talking about he's going to do our offensive line in dirty. So it's always like that. And I think the kids feed off that too, and it's always positive too. You know what I mean? Like, when we're going at each other, but we're also lifting each other up. We're telling each other, hey, I beat you like this. That's what I like to see what the kids do too, man. It's like, if your defensive lineman beats my offensive lineman, or vice versa, I tell your defensive lineman, hey, you're showing your cards a little too soon. Or tell my offensive lineman, don't set up too quickly. Let him make that move. Be reactive towards him. Be counterpuncher. And I think it starts with that friendly competition, man, and that's how we get better and make your teammates better.
Yes, and on just to piggyback on what you were saying earlier, with track, as far as track, you can really see your progression because you actually get times and things of that nature. With every other sport, it applies to as well. With film study, if you're watching your film study, and whether it's practice film or whether it's game film, and you're seeing that, like you said, you're getting beat around the edge, or that pass rusher just isn't putting any pressure on the quarterback, well, study that game film and see what you are doing wrong and see where you can improve. That's how you progress in sports, is watching yourself do it over and over again.
And on the flip side, you can tell when you're not studying.
Yes, you can.
Because you haven't learned the lessons from the times you've been beat over and over and over and over again. And I can always tell with a kid, without going in the huddle and looking at their minutes, you can always tell when a kid's watching or not watching film, because they're not making the same mistakes they made in the game or practices before if they're watching film. Whereas a kid that's not watching film, he's doing the same thing. He's not getting off like he should be, or he's not stepping the direction he's supposed to, or protecting the gap he's supposed to protect. And it shows. So all you kids out there, all you athletes out there, watch your film, study up. That's like the best way to become better without putting in like exercise work, right? Like, I think we get caught up with the fact that we need to be lifting all the time, and we do. We need to be exercising, working out, running, doing all that stuff, but we neglect the mental part of the game.
Yes.
And the mental part of the game is so much bigger than the actual physical part of the game.
Yeah.
Like, the physical part of the game is kind of like the build up to the game, right? Like, you're doing everything, working out and all that stuff to get to the game. But when you get inside the game, that's when the mental part takes over, because you're going to get tired, you're going to get exhausted, or you're going to get your butt kicked a few times, and you're going to be like, well, how the hell do I handle this?
Yes.
Like, you got to be mentally strong and be able to overcome that stuff. So,
and ready to adjust on the fly.
For sure. So it's been a wild week, man. Kind of transitioning a little bit. It's been a wild week at Avalanche Stanley Cup champs.
Yes, sir.
A little bit longer than that. The Colorado Mammoth are national champs with the NLL. And
you got to give a shout out to East High School as well.
High School.
Because, they're the national champs. And
DU.
And that's great to see in the same sport, on multiple levels where we're really,
I'm sure it's happened before, dude. I don't know I've ever seen it before, though, where you've got three national champs in the same sport, kind of at each level, right? You got the high school, the college, and the professional level. And I don't know that I've ever seen it. I'm sure it's happened before, dude. If you go back over to, back out east, where in the upper north, where hockey's super popular, I'm sure something like that's happened before. But big ups to the Avs, to the Mammoth, to the East Angels, and to the DU Pioneers for their success, man. It's cool to have titles here in Colorado. I think the city's just a different buzz. I think everyone's kind of, especially with all the craziness going on in the world anyhow, it's kind of like take your mind off this for a second. Let us kind of – and then them fools were drinking, dude.
Yeah, I will say, though, besides the Tampa Bay Lightning, there's a few people who took an L in this situation with the Stanley Cup, and one person in particular was that police officer. I don't know if you've seen it, but during the Stanley Cup parade, there was a police officer. He mistaked he mistaked one of the Avalanche players for a fan, Bo Byram for a fan. And, it took a little second of clarification for him, but once he found out who he was dealing with, he let him go join his teammates and celebrate his victory.
Bro, I don't know if the video on that. After it's made clear that he's part of the Avalanche, that officer lets him go and gets back on his bike and looks forward and is like, his face is like, God damn it.
Oh, it's like that meme, right? At this moment, he knew he done. You know what I'm saying? But also, the people who delivered the Stanley Cup. Did you hear about the captain of the team? They went to deliver the Stanley Cup, and they delivered it to the wrong residence.
Like his neighbor or some shit, right?
Yeah, two people that have nothing to do with the Avalanche. They delivered the most prestigious award in the NHL to the wrong place. Somebody got to tighten up out there. And
I don't know if I'm answering my door again if you drop off the Stanley Cup at my house, bro.
No,
I'm like, neither. Look at this.
I'm drinking out.
Yeah, I was just about to say I'm drinking out of like them fools were and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was reading this story about the dude, and I forget his name, and I wish I remember it. I should have wrote it down, but he's the dude that basically he's one of the two guys that travel with the cup everywhere, and so everywhere that cup goes, he goes. And he was just talking about how he kind of fell into the job. He's worked for the Hall of Fame for a number of years, and the main guy came up to him and was like, "Hey, you want to do this job?" And the dude thought the guys offering him the job was embellishing a little bit about how the job was, and he's like, he undersold the job. He's like, it's fun as heck. Yeah. Like, I go everywhere with this thing. And
I can only imagine,
dude. Watching these boys get down lately, this last week. I mean, the cups have already been dented up like 3 or 4 different times.
I guess if that's the case, we take the L, because who would not want to have a job like that?
No.
Where you're traveling with the sports team, or whether you're a towel boy for an NHL or NFL team, or that guy traveling with the cup. It's pretty rewarding to be able to see the sport that you're watching at the highest level every single day.
I think they get like 100 days with the cup.
That's
the Avalanche do, and like each guy gets a certain amount of time with the cup, and so these people go with them, or I don't know if they just drop it off and let them have it for a day or whatever. But
is it equally dispersed, or is it like based off of what you done for me lately type of scenario? Like the captain gets it for a longer period, and
I don't know,
the
man.
Guys, that extra guy on the bench doesn't get it.
Yeah, you didn't play all playoffs.
You get it for an
half hour. No, I don't know, man, because like I see Landeskog with that thing a bunch, bro. Like he's around everywhere with that cup, and so
well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, that dude's been here. Was like 11 years, 10 years. I mean, they went through a season 6 years ago where they were the worst team, one of the worst teams ever, but they were the worst team in the NHL by like 20 points. They were just the bottom of the bottom. Patrick Waugh had quit like a month before the season started. Bednar took over. And, I mean, to go from 3 straight disappointments, which, I got my hopes up a few times. This year I got my hopes up, and they stood high, thankfully. Yeah. But to go from that, it's pretty cool, man.
And it's cool to see MacKinnon on the ice. Oh boy, he is something special on those skates, man. He's so quick. He's so precise with how he skates. It's like a figure skater.
Dude, have you ever ice skated?
No, and I don't think I have the legs for it, honestly. So I don't know if I'll ever try. The last time I even put foot to skate, period, I probably pulled something in my back, so I'm not going to try that anytime soon. I'll just spectate from the side and give the respect to those who can.
Bro, I never have, and I'm in the same boat, dude. I don't know that I ever could.
Yeah.
Not that saying I ever will. I just don't think I could. Dude, the way they move, and specifically MacKinnon, Makar, they're so quick, and they change the speed and the pace so just with ease, bro. Like, it's wild, dude, to see people move like that on the ice and then stop on a dime. Like, MacKinnon was doing all those where he'd come up ice and he'd, like, stop and, like, rotate around.
Yeah, and if he would have hit one of those shots, oh, my gosh, it would have been –
dude.
It would have been all over the place all week long.
His play that gets forgotten in the St. Louis series when Game 5, but they lost. They should have won the damn game. But he gets his hat trick, and his third goal was like they call it a 200-foot play. He went from his end with the puck, maneuvering, getting through folk, and then boom, shoots and scores.
Yeah.
And man, if that would have won that series, you'd have been hearing about that play. You still hear a lot about it, but it kind of them losing that game kind of took some of that flavor off of that, dude. But
yeah, the mentality of the game too, like the mental aspect of what you said before. How do you think those opponents of the Avalanche are feeling once you're getting ready to go into overtime with that team? You better get it done in the regular time that you have, because once you get into overtime with the Avalanche, their success rate is out this world.
Dude.
They're great in overtime. They finish games.
And what's crazy is this season they didn't have that goalie, right? Like,
yeah.
Kemper was decent. Like, I always considered he was above average to good. Same with Francouz, above average to good. But, you see that a lot with, like Tampa, their goalie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Patrick Waugh, the Martin Brodeurs of the back in the day, where, if you're going into overtime, this dude's going to give you your best chance to win. Like, I think back to Game 4 of the 1996 Stanley Cup where we beat the Florida Panthers. Patrick Waugh stopped 63 shots.
Yeah,
he won the game 1-0.
Yeah, it was different back then, though.
It definitely was, but at the same time, I mean, the goalie for Tampa, Vasilevsky, that dude stopped. There was a game. I think it was Game 5 here in Colorado. He stopped like 40-something shots.
He kept them in this series.
He was
honestly.
the only reason they didn't get swept, bro.
Yeah, he was.
Like, straight up. Like, he was the reason.
Their goalie and ours is the only reason why they didn't get swept. Let's keep it real.
Hey, Kemps was big when he needed to be, bro. And I remember talking to my brother during Game 6, like, after he gave up that first goal. I was like, dude.
It's all coaching, though.
Yeah.
Taking him out of that game and then putting him back in, it was totally the right decision, because it was his stare into the mirror moment.
Yeah.
He got pulled from that game, and you can tell that visually it just affected him. And so he came back when they put him back in and gave him the starting nod again, and he was a different goalie. They may have squeezed a few past him, but shouts out to Tampa Bay. They were playing great at that time, too. They had some momentum behind him. But the goalie, he definitely stepped it up and tightened up his game.
It goes back to that mental focus, too, bro. Like, being able to be mentally strong enough to be like, all right, I got pulled from the last game. What happened in the last game was the last game. This game's a different game. We're going to do different. We're going to go out there and stop the shots. And lesser people, bro, like, some folks aren't that strong mentally. So, you pull them out that situation, they're in their head, and it's over from that point, man. And that's the biggest thing with athletics, right, is, like, keeping people out their own head so that they don't ruin their own performance, because I think we're our biggest detriment to our performance. It's not necessarily, yes, a good defender or somebody opposite of you could affect how your outcome is. But if you've already lost mentally before stepping on the field or the court, it's done. Like, there's nothing you can do to make it any different. Like, if you don't believe already, you're pretty much done. And I think when Kemps came back in there after being benched, he still had the belief, like, I can get this done, And so that was a big ups for the Avs, though, man. That was super dope.
It is. While we're reflecting this week, I want to definitely speak on a situation. Back on June 21st, Jalen Ferguson of the Ravens died of a cocaine and fentanyl overdose. His death was officially ruled an accident this Friday, and they had his services Saturday in Baines, Louisiana. So I just want to take this moment to touch on that a little bit and say, give our condolences and our respects to the Baltimore Ravens, his family, and everybody else affected by this situation. But also to shed light on why athletes have to watch everything that they do on and off the field, and, why some want to enjoy their life and think they're having a good time and just enjoying a party, any given choice that you make can be your last choice.
For sure.
And as an athlete, the spotlight is on you, so you really have to watch what you're doing on and off the field, and you can't put yourself in certain situations to where something tragic like this can happen, and I don't know his story or
he's a young dude, right?
What he was battling with, if he was just enjoying the night,
Yeah.
But that just shows that you can't you never know what you're taking, and you have to really treat your body as a specimen, and not really, do things of that nature, and put yourself in those situations. If you're trying to succeed in sports, it's really hard to be successful if you have a monkey on your back.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure that you don't fall into that temptation, because it's going to be there.
Yeah.
The party lifestyle is going to be there. We've all been tempted with it. And
Especially if you're making millions, bro, or
Yeah.
even you're making hundreds of thousands, right? Like you have more options and more doors available to you in terms of that aspect in that realm. So it's sad, bro. Like and fentanyl's been a thing that's touched even in our area, in our community, bro.
yeah,
Like
it's in everything nowadays.
it's wild, dude. Like and it isn't slowing down. And you know what was it, a couple months back, the young family that died, like 5 people, they were all in their freaking early 20s. And it's a night of partying or a night of a good time, thinking we've done this before, this is something we're gonna have some fun. And and it doesn't, you don't wake up the next day, man. Like you really got to take advantage of your opportunities and be blessed and understand that our existence is so fragile. Like our existence is, there's so many things that can take us out in a moment's notice, dude, that we got to appreciate every opportunity we have. And I'm not saying that young man didn't appreciate life, because I'm sure he did, man. I'm sure he appreciated being in the NFL and playing for the Ravens and playing football and stuff. And he probably didn't think that was going to be it.
No, one bad choice.
Yeah. And, it goes with everything else, man. Like we just got to be more thoughtful in what we're doing, and we got to be careful in what we're doing. It's similar to when we were marching a couple years ago about these kids shooting each other and killing each other in the streets, man. Like you might think you're going out and having a good time, going to go hang out with some friends, going to go do our thing, and then you cross the wrong person and life changes forever, dude. So it breaks my heart, man, anytime I see young folks dying like that. People with potential. What's the old saying? There's nothing worse than wasted potential. Like, it's
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, man. Well, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But it's just unfortunate, man. Like, it just goes to show you, dude, you can have the world and it still be something else you need, something else you want, something else you desire. We deal with demons on a day-to-day basis. And it's just important to be there for each other and big up each other, man, and that's what we do. That's what I'm proud to do. And I think you were talking about the other day at the lovely party you hosted for your wife. By the way, happy birthday to your wife. It was a great time. A lot of cool people, a lot of family, friends, and folks that I ain't seen Zach for freaking decades, bro.
Yeah,
like, literally, and I seen him.
Good people.
Yeah, dude. But it's the same thing though, man. Just showing love. You're talking about I'm the yin to your yang, and it's love like that, man. You got to have people that kind of keep you leveled and that you can always go to. So if you ain't got one of those, try to find you one.
For sure.
Reach out. Don't ever be afraid to reach out to folks and let your guard down. I think we're too guarded, bro. I think
that's what you said. That is key, because that's who I am exactly, right? Is I have this big guard up, and I have trust issues with a lot of people in life. And my family give me grief about it all the time. They say, you really have little to no friends, Dad, and this and that. It's because I am real guarded, but once I let you in, you're more than a friend, you're family. And that's what that party was. It was a bunch of family. Everybody that was here were people that we consider close to our family, and we want around our children, because it takes a village to raise children.
That it does.
And to have good people around your children that they can look up to and they can go to if they need something ever in life is just a great support system. And you need that, because it's hard to take this world on all alone.
Yeah. And it goes back to surrounding yourself with success, right? Like we were talking about a little bit earlier. Like as a family, it's good to be around other families, right? Other happy, thriving families, because not everything's sunshines and rainbows, right? There's hard days as a husband, as a father. There's hard days that, sometimes you're like, God, why am I even doing this? But it's important to be around others that have gotten through those hard days too. So it molds you. Iron sharpens iron.
It definitely does. And I touched on it a little bit, not to make a joke of the situation. First and foremost, I want to, again, give our condolences to Jalen Ferguson and his family. Before we move on from that topic, but then also just touch base on Deshaun Watson, man, and wasted talent. That man, again, is battling his own demons internally of with what he likes, whatever floats your boat, that's your business, but at the same time there's boundaries to everything in life, and you got to respect people's boundaries. And just because you are of a certain stature or certain, you've made it to a certain level in life, it doesn't allow you the opportunity to do whatever you want. Athletes, you have to really, really watch what you're doing out there, and don't confuse your money and your success with power, because that's not what it is. Money and success, you got to reap the rewards of your benefits and count your blessings, but you can't confuse it with power, because when you confuse it with power, you get yourself in bad situations, and you do things that, may not normally be of your character, but to other people are very offensive and put you in bad situations. And, I hope with the Deshaun Watson situation, everything gets situated and figured out in the appropriate manner. But I also want to, hope the best for him as well, because you hate to see a young athlete who's worked so hard his whole life just lose everything based off of some bad decisions in life.
And I'll attack it from this angle. And let me just preface this by saying, like, I don't necessarily believe what I'm about to say in a sense, right? But it's just another way to look at it as an athlete. You can't put yourself in a position to even have those things come up. And I'm not suggesting that them girls aren't telling the truth, because I don't know. Only Deshaun and them girls know the truth, right?
Correct.
But you can't put yourself in a position to be accused of something like that. Like, you've got to be able to be like,
know your surroundings.
Yes, man. Like, listen, if you're a young athlete, man, and I know young men, and their hormones are going crazy, man.
Yep.
Testosterone driven. They're trying to find ladies and all that stuff, but you can't put yourself in a position to be compromised. And again, not suggesting that that's even the case, but I'm just saying in general, as an athlete, and it's like this with anything. If you're rolling around with people with drugs, or rolling around with people that are packing guns, and then they get caught and you're arrested along with them, you can't put yourself in compromising positions that are going to compromise your future, especially if you have some potential, especially if you have an opportunity to perhaps go play at the next level, whether that be college, professional, semi-pro, whatever. You can't put yourself in compromising positions. You got to be smarter than that. And again, I hate to keep going back to it, but that's the mental aspect of life and of the game.
Yep.
You can't put yourself in bad spots. You got to be able to understand the situation, read the room. I know sometimes we can get a little full of ourselves when we got a little bit of money, you get a little coin change, you get to going around like Casanova, man, and you just got to understand, like, not everyone has the best intentions for you.
Yep.
Some folks will see you as an opportunity.
Yes.
And again, that's not what I'm saying these girls are doing. Like, I don't know enough about the situation. Like, obviously I know there's a bunch, like, 20-something girls that have filed suit. He's settled with some. He's got some other suits coming up. But you got to understand who you are and understand that not everyone has the best intentions for you.
Yes, for sure. And, another thing is everything in life, it goes back to the old saying, nothing in life is free, right? You have to do everything with the mentality that somebody wants something in return out of any situation, and you got to respect people's boundaries and, read the room and make sure that what you want is the same thing that the other person wants. But also know that if a situation or something sounds like it's too good to be true, or the night's going really well, then maybe you need to second guess that athlete and really take yourself out of the situation and maybe look forward to night 2 with that person if it's really that special, before you just dive into the situation. And trust me, I'm a man. I was a young man at one point. Temptation is real. Party scenes are, very, very erotic at times, and there's a lot of temptation and things out there that young men just
mindset goes
give
out.
into, but
brain goes out the window.
But we have to be smarter with all of our decisions, and we have to respect other people while we're going through things. We can't just, again, confuse our money and our success for power. We have to respect people. We have to respect people's boundaries and what they do and they don't want. Whether we do or don't want the same thing, we have to respect their wishes.
That's right. So kind of hitting little halftime segment. You know what I mean? Both teams
sir.
going back into the locker room real quick, and so it's July 4th. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Happy birthday, America. A lot of crazy stuff that goes on in this country, but still one of the best things going on in the world.
Yeah.
Still a beacon of hope and the beacon of change that we like to think of our country to be. But July brings a month closer to football season.
It does.
Which brings us a month closer to fantasy football.
It does.
Don, I know you're a fantasy football pro. Now, I know last year in our coaches league, it didn't go as good for you as it did for me.
No, it didn't. Not
But I know you're a fantasy football stud. So how you feel about this season?
I think sometimes it's all about the matchup as well. Before we get on to this season, I just want to clarify that last season, sometimes you run into a certain matchup where, you may not be successful with. And then you sit back the next week and you say, I should be in that match because I'd be a better matchup against this powerhouse of a team that you had, so.
That's Coach's way of saying he should have faced me in the championship and lost to me. But, hey, is what it is.
I think I would have had a better shot. But I'm just saying, I won it the year before. You won it last year. So we'll look forward to this year and see who wins the tiebreaker. But I plan on taking it down.
What's your like go-to first-round pick, bro? Like, I know, like, leagues are different. There's PPR leagues and there's leagues that – like, I'm in a league with my cousin, bro, where I get points for every touch.
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
crazy.
Dude, my first round is like running back. My second round is running back. My third round is running back.
Those are
wide
NBA
receiver.
Scores,
bro. We get up to like 230 points on a good team.
That's ridiculous.
It's wild though, bro, because it takes a lot of planning. Like you got to go study who gets touches.
But then does it?
It does though, because like
Joe Schmo could score as much as
I had Aaron
Joe
Jones.
Mixon.
I had Aaron Jones last year. Yeah. Right, and there was a couple of times where Aaron Jones didn't get no touches. Yeah. Like 15 touches. And he's projected to score like 40, 50 points, and I get like 25 points with him, But then there's like filler backs like Alex Collins, for instance, right? Last year, the Baltimore Ravens had so many issues with their running back room, so many injuries. You get guys that they're just going to get touches because they need to run the ball to keep the teams honest, right? Yeah. So it kind of goes into that, like strategizing. Okay, I know this wide receiver gets 10 looks every time, right? And he doesn't drop balls very much, so I know he's going to catch 9 of them, 8 of them, right? So there is some strategy there. Yeah, like you got to understand touches. Some folks just go after names,
but it evens. Yeah, they do. But it evens the playing field a little bit as well because like I said, you can get a guy who's not your top end athlete, but gets a lot of looks. And he'll score just as much as the guys who are supposed to be the guy. For instance, maybe a Hunter Renfrow to a Jamar Chase. They're scoring equally in your league. When
another one. What's the dude's name? The running back for the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, right? I had Josh Jacobs, but we get down to the end zone. There was only a handful of games where they gave him the ball down in the end zone. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I had Javonte Williams in that league, right? Yeah. Another thing, they put Melvin Gordon in there, right? Javonte might get 20 touches, but if he ain't getting them red zone touches, he's not getting them touchdowns, it doesn't score as high, right? Yeah. Whereas you get someone like, Derrick Henry, right? He's going to get the touches in the red zone, right? Or, again, the backup for the Packers, not A.J. Dillon, right? I had Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones get down to the red zone. They put A.J. Dillon in there. A.J. Dillon has scored a touchdown. A.J. Dillon also split the carries almost 50-50 with Aaron Jones. So here I thought I had the stud. The dude that's behind him is the stud. So I don't know, man. Fantasy is always fun. It's always quirky like that.
Yeah, and one thing for me is, so you asked the question of what kind of strategy I approach draft with, and I know this sounds cliche, but it really depends on your scoring system. But I'm the best available guy, right? Yep. I'm always trying to get the most value for my pick. So I may not go after your top end guys. I may go after a guy who has more, throughput and actual receptions or looks, like you said, targets. Because even if we're not a every touch league, targets are still targets,
Yeah.
and percentages are still percentages
sure.
at the end of the day. So, however you want to slice the cookie, you want the guys who get the most attention.
That's like going into the like macro, micro stats, like not just on the surface stats. Like, yeah, he gets 1,000 yards and he's gotten 100 receptions, but that's all nice. But how do you separate the guys that get 50 to 75 receptions and just under 1,000
who
yards,
are the workers?
Right? How do you separate those ones? So, like guys like Hunter Renfrow, they're going to him in third down. They're going to him to move the chains. You know he's a highly targeted person. He might not rack up as many yards or yards after the catch or receptions as some other guys, but you're looking for a wide receiver 2 or you're looking for a flex option, you got to understand how this person is targeted and how this person's used in the offense too.
Yeah, speaking of Hunter Renfrow, what do you think about the Davante Adams trade? Do you think it's going to benefit Hunter Renfrow, or do you think it's going to take away from the value that he has in fantasy football based off of last year's performance he had? Because he had a, career year last year.
I think on the surface, you'd say it's going to take away from some of his stats, and it probably should, some of his receptions. But he wasn't the only wide receiver out there last year either. So there was other wide receivers getting targets. So I think some of them targets might work towards Davante Adams opposed to maybe some of Hunter's targets going from him. But at the same time, Carr knows who he's looking for on third down, right? Third and Renfrow, right?
Yep.
He knows who he's looking for in them touch situations in the red zone. Like, Davante Adams is a beast, bro. And he was everything Green Bay had on offense. Like, they were stupid to let that boy go, especially if they were going to bring back Aaron Rodgers. Like, if you weren't going to bring back Aaron Rodgers and blow the whole damn thing up, cool, let him go.
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah,
right?
But I think with Carr, he's a more than serviceable and more than available quarterback. I think he's highly underrated.
Completely.
He could frustrate people, and I get that. Like, but dude, would you rather have Carr or would you rather have freaking the boy that used to be here in Denver, Drew Lock? You know what I mean?
We were talking about, I was talking to one of my nephews at the party the other day, and they were talking about how Drew Lock is a meme in Seattle because how they're going to do so horrible with him. And I said, well, how you feel being a Bronco fan? You had to deal with him for 2 seasons, right? Or was it 2 or 3 seasons with Drew Lock?
So DK Metcalf, I think it was one of the wide receivers for Seattle. Had posted something on Twitter about the Wimbledon tournament, the tennis tournament.
I think that's what
and
it was.
And he's like, not a real sport or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was.
And somebody replied to him, dude, you get to watch 17 games of Drew Lock playing quarterback. Talk about not a real sport. Like, yeah, man. Like, dude, there's a handful of quarterbacks that you can compare to Carr and be like, do you want him or him? And it's like, there's no brainers, bro. Like, you're taking Carr over probably just not even looking at the list. I take him top 15 over a lot of other guys.
And that's for sure. I am not being biased, but I personally think
he has a Raider hat on.
Yeah, I personally think Carr is a top 5 quarterback. I think he's been a top 5 quarterback. When you're talking about yards and touchdowns, him and Aaron Rodgers are 2 of the only quarterbacks to put up the numbers that they put up the last 4 seasons. So I think, numbers speak for themselves. However, Derek Carr does make a lot of mistakes, and mistakes also take away from fantasy value. So that's what hurts Derek Carr the most. If he can eliminate a lot of his mistakes, and I'm not just talking turnovers, I'm talking bad throws that lead to punts, 3 and outs, things like that. I think if he can eliminate some of those mistakes, not only will the Raiders win a Super Bowl really soon, but I think he'll be a top quarterback in fantasy football for years to come if he can eliminate some of that.
He's definitely, in my opinion, my humble opinion, he's not a top 5 fantasy quarterback, just because I don't think his numbers are as consistent as some of the other guys. But I consider him a top 12 overall quarterback, maybe top 10 overall quarterback, if I'm being honest. I mean, I'm a Miami Dolphin fan, lifelong. I take him over Tua.
Yeah.
Fast, bro.
Yeah.
I take him over Tua and Teddy Bridgewater.
But how much of that is to support around them? You know what
True,
I mean? Like,
true.
A lot of Derek Carr's fantasy love comes from Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, and
Waller
Davante
screwed me
Adams.
over this last season, man. I don't even want to hear about Waller.
He played, Darren Waller will bounce back. He's top 3 tight ends. If you do not pick up a Kittle, Kelsey, or Waller this year, you might as well wait a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Waller will bounce back. He was just banged up a little bit last year, and I think the help with Devontae Adams will take some of that pressure off of him and Renfro, and look for Waller to have a bounce back year this year. One thing I wanted to ask you about fantasy football is, what's your take on guys that are either coming into the season with an injury or a suspension, like Alvin Kamara or Deshaun Watson? Do you waste a draft pick on a guy like that, or do you just pick him up on the waivers afterwards if a situation? How many games is too many games to lose when you're talking fantasy football?
I like to call it a waste to value ratio, right? Like, am I going to waste this pick, or is there value at this pick? If I get to my 10th, 11th pick and there's someone that has like an 8-game suspension that's there, maybe take a runner on it instead of taking somebody that's not. Like, you get down to the bottom of your draft and sometimes you're looking at best available, right? And if the person isn't going to be gone the whole season, or that might be a stash and stave, right? You just draft them and you stash them away. And I've done it in the past where it's worked out for me, and I've done it in the past where it didn't. I had Christian McCaffrey a couple years back, stashed him after he got hurt. I stashed him, and then when it came back that he was in the comeback from his injury, well, I pulled him out, and I was able to trade him away for assets.
Yeah.
Right? I think maybe stashing him and keeping him. Now, if there's obviously better players available at that particular point, I'm not going to do it. I'll let him ride to the waivers, and if he's on the waivers, then maybe I'll swoop him up. I don't mind doing it. I don't do it a lot, and I think it just depends on the player. If it's a player where it's kind of uncertain how they're going to come back, if they've had multiple injuries, maybe I'll stay away from them a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You always see the one person, though, 6th round, I'm taking Deshaun Watson. He's going to be back after 10 games. Like,
yeah. For me, I think is there trade value in him? Yeah. That's really the only time that I even contemplate it, because for me, losing 1 week in fantasy football is a lot of time.
Yeah.
If you drop the first few weeks of fantasy football, you're at risk of not making the playoffs. This isn't the NFL where you can lose the first 2 weeks and then still win the Super Bowl. Yep. It's not going to happen. I mean, sometimes you can, but if you're sitting around and you're trying to, play the matchups and even come towards bye weeks, and you have someone sitting on your bench that you've just been holding on to all year long, that is wasted value. And, to me, I'm going to pick up a guy who may have a 4 to 6 game suspension, if again, I'm later round and I don't have anybody necessarily on the board that I want per se, but I see a value and trade value for that person, then I may pick up a Deshaun Watson, Alvin Kamara, and say, you know what, there may be a sucker out there who thinks he's really going to be back in 4 weeks, and I may be able to trade some mid-tier running backs or receivers for a guy who's probably not going to play too much this season.
Is Kamara suspended?
Kamara actually has the risk of being out all year. He's potentially facing charges. I'd have to look up the more.
I knew he did. I knew something happened. I just can't remember what happened.
Yeah, so he got into an altercation where he physically assaulted somebody pretty bad. And again, I don't want to speak too much on it because I don't know too much of the details. But I do know that he is facing criminal charges still, which with criminal charges always comes
suspension.
And
even in the NFL, you don't even have to be criminally charged anymore to be suspended. Roger Goodell can just suspend you for the hell of it. I'll tell you right now, 12th round comes around, 13th round comes around in my fantasy draft, and Kamara's on the board. Depending on what else is there, I'm probably taking him.
Yeah, I mean, because if he comes back, you're a sucker, right? Yep. And that's the best pick of the year.
Dude, I'm a waiver rat.
Me too. I'd never finish a year with my draft roster.
You look at my transactions on the season, there's at least 30, 40 transactions. Like, I play that waiver, bro, especially 'cause, like, if I have a core set of guys, but I'm able to steal some points based off of, like, because there's always somebody that comes out of nowhere. And that's another one of my, like, little philosophies, so to speak, that I like, is that I will take rookie running backs, bro, that no one's heard of, right? Like last year, Javonte Williams helped me out a ton.
Yeah.
Not a big name, not a lot expected out of him. I love drafting rookie running backs.
Yeah, he's going to have a big year this year.
Dalvin Cook's rookie year, bro. He took me all the way to the championship. I lost, but he took me to the championship. It's just finding these guys that come out of nowhere is always a steal, and I think it's the same way on the waivers. Raheem Mostert, I think I've picked up on waivers and rode him for a couple weeks till he got hurt and then got rid of him. I'm like a true NFL owner when it comes to the players with injuries.
Oh, so last year was one of my toughest years fantasy wise, right? Because obviously I watch you run away with the championship because somebody else isn't as good as I am the week I play them.
Gone.
But in my league that I got in at my job, oh man, it was so frustrating because there was this one particular owner who, for some reason, I don't know if it's the position he held within my company or what it was, or he's just a smooth talker, he convinced everybody to give him the most ridiculous trades, and I wish I could pull one up in particular and show you from last year. But man, by the end of the year, there was no reason why he should have ever lost the game that he lost in the championship. But, karma kind of came around to get him on that one. But, dude, he had such a loaded roster. And week by week, I was watching him beat teams that he was just clearly not going to lose to because other people gave him he had probably, at every position, he probably had the top 2 players at every position.
Wow.
And that's because people were just trading away top 2 players for mid-row players. Al, and I'm telling you, they were disgusting trades that I just.
So did that league do veto of trades at all?
Well, he was the commissioner.
Oh, God damn.
So you can't veto the commish when the motherfucker is. Oh, excuse my language. He's working.
We'll bleep that out in editing.
Yeah, he's working it, So, and like I said, I don't know if he was the commish, and because he happens to be a high-end manager at my company, that other people were giving him, little nepotism.
I need next Friday off, dog. Here's my best wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there, but
because I've been a part of leagues, bro, where it's like where I'm thinking. So like this league I was in last year, because I was in like 3 leagues last year, our coaches league, and then 2 of my cousins had leagues. So, but one of the leagues I was in last year, bro, I did a trade with a dude. It was fair on my end for me, like. And I had ways to justify the trade. And I can't remember the specifics of the trade, but it got vetoed. And it got vetoed by like 2 or 3 people is all it took to overturn the trade. And so I got on the thread talking trash, like, yo, what's the deal? Oh, you can't be giving him all the good players like that. I was like, bro, I'm trying to win.
I wish they would have vetoed some trades.
I got mixed feelings about it, bro. Like, in one way I feel a certain way. And if it's obvious, like if I'm giving you like 2 backups for a prime player, like that's obvious, right? Like that's obvious I'm giving up my team. But my team last year in this league, I started out 0-4, and I was the defending champion. And I started out 0-4, and I completely shook my team up, bro. And I won like 8 straight games and made it into the playoffs, went to the semifinals, and I lost. But it was one of those things, though, bro, like that trade – I traded a commodity name, like a well-known name, for a couple of guys that were up and coming, but weren't quite commodity, right? And it would have worked for me, and it would have worked for him, but the league didn't see it that way, and they vetoed it. So I kind of felt salty about that a little bit. It is what it is. Yeah. I ended up making a better trade anyway. So
yeah, as much as I hated last year, I couldn't be mad at him for getting the trades.
Yeah,
I was mad at the people for just.
Like you dummies?
Giving them,
yeah.
And some of the names, the likes of Pat Mahomes, Cooper Kupp, to think of, and I'm talking about Cooper Kupp getting traded to him for 4 players, 1 being a player who was active and 3 being injured or inactive for whatever reason. It was just distasteful to the game, and for me, I don't know if I'll do that league again because of that, because to me it's not the way fantasy football is supposed to be done, and I'm not knocking him, I'm not hating on him again, because if you can do it, right? But you got to be smarter out there. If you're going to get into fantasy football to play fantasy football, don't be giving away players for nothing. Make sure you're getting an equal value. There's plenty of apps out there that you could help you out with your trades, gentlemen. Don't just give away ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry.
Secure your investment, man. You're investing to play fantasy football. You're putting some money up to try to win some money. Man, make sure you're doing the right thing and securing your investment, right?
Yeah.
Well, Dom, as we roll through this thing, it's 4th of July, bro. Super excited. I used to love this time as a kid.
Yeah.
I used to always blow things up.
Yeah.
God, I was a pyro when I was a kid, bro.
And weren't we all?
Try to blow everything up, right? My hands,
including your fingers,
bottles. But it being 4th of July, bro, I just wanted to ask you, like, what does the 4th of July mean to you? And what are, like, some of your greatest memories from this day?
Well, you can't, to talk about our independence and who we are as a country. It's kind of getting harder to see nowadays a little bit more and more, honestly, to be truthful with you, with certain rights being taken away and things like that. But, I won't go too, that'll be next episode. We could touch base on some of that. But, 4th of July is all about independence, man, and being the land of the free and the home of the brave. And I hold that dear in heart and love it. Every time I sing our national anthem when we're on the side of a sideline for a football game or any sporting event of that nature, those words hold true to my heart. And just seeing where our country is going a little bit is kind of upsetting. But, the 4th of July is one of my fondest holidays, to celebrate, get together with family like we did the other day. One of my memories, probably a lot of the Roman candle wars. I don't want to shed light on doing that. Children, I do not recommend you out there having firework wars, but back in the day when we were young, we did what we did. And, having some of those battles with the neighbors, see who shoots off the most artillery shells, or see who could hit who with the Roman candle from so far away, or, pop bottle rocket wars or things like that. All those things were fun as kids. And I don't recommend that now. But, getting together with family and really enjoying the essence of the holiday and watching fireworks go off and seeing the sparkles in your children's and your mother's and your wives' and husbands' eyes are just the greatest thing. It reminds you of why we are who we are here in America. Even if there's a lot of outside things going on.
I agree with you, bro. And a lot of the outside, I'll call it noise for lack of a better term, but a lot of the outside noise kind of distracts us from what and who we are. I think, and we don't have to dive into it too deep, but I think a lot of the stuff that happens is by design in order to kind of keep us fighting amongst each other. Mm-hmm. Because when there's dissent in a locker room, that locker room becomes divided, and that locker room isn't as strong. That team isn't as strong. And I think that analogy applies to the same to the country too, right? The country isn't nothing but a giant locker room, right? And there's different creeds, different types of people, belief systems, all that, right?
Yep.
And so I love this day. I'm thankful for this day always. Like you said, land of the free because of the brave. And, I'll forever – 4th of July will forever be one of my favorite holidays. Have so many great memories from this day, man. Like, my uncle used to love this day. We blew up Pueblo one time. But I think for me personally, man, my favorite memory is one that was like my first 4th of July away from my whole family. So a few years back, my son was playing baseball, and he got to play in a tournament out in Cooperstown, New York.
Nice.
But it happened to be around the 4th of July. So we flew out actually on July 4th, landed in Rochester. And as we're landing, because my cousin lived in Rochester, as we're landing, I'm watching fireworks go off. So we're watching like explosions from the plane. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, and, like flying into Vegas at nighttime.
Yeah, with bombs going off.
Yeah.
But that week, man, like I was away from my wife at the time, away from my other son, and away from the family, and I'd never done that on 4th of July. We've always gone together as a group, and it was just me and AJ and his teammates, and my cousin came down with us out to Cooperstown, and getting to watch my son play baseball. They had a big lake out there, bro, next to the city, and They took a boat out there and they shot fireworks off from this boat out in the
that's
middle of the lake.
amazing.
And it was dope, man. Like,
Fireworks over water is always the most beautiful thing. That
the reflections.
Oh
and
my gosh.
yeah, bro. Like, and it was. I got to see the Cooperstown or the Baseball Hall of Fame, the Wax Museum out there. Like, if you have never been to Cooperstown and you're just a fringe baseball fan,
Yeah.
go, because there's so much history there, and it's not all good history, and they put the bad history on display too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they have the they call it, I think it's the Negro League Hall of Fame, which is like a wax museum over there.
Yeah.
And they got so much to learn about some of these cats that, like, the Satchel Pages of the world that you've never heard of, that would have smoked Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. Babe Ruth ain't hitting 715 home runs off a Satchel Paige.
Yeah.
Right? But just, it was a fun trip, man, and seen so many things with my son that loves baseball so much. It was definitely one of my proudest dad moments and funnest trips that I had with the 4th of July, man. And
That's awesome.
Think about it all the time when this time of year comes up, because it was fun, bro.
Yeah. It's funny you say that you're flying in and there's fireworks going off underneath you like little bombs. Yesterday we went down and seen one of the most lackluster firework displays here in Denver, Colorado. I won't say the establishment that was throwing on this firework display, because we don't need no backlash from that, but my neighbors in the backyard were letting off a better firework display than that. I'll tell you that much. But anyway, on our way home, my son was talking about, you know, his dreams and one of his biggest fears. And one of his biggest fears is actually flying in an airplane and a firework coming up and hitting the airplane. And I said, son, they don't go up that high. And he's still terrified to be in an airplane whenever there's fireworks going off. So
I'll have to share my story with him.
yeah, I'll never be flying on the 4th of July until he gets over that fear.
Oh, that's so funny, man. Hey, another thing that's great about this holiday, bro, and I'll just mention it briefly. When I left your house the other night, you guys were blowing up some stuff, and it was fun, man. I wish my younger boys would have enjoyed it more. I won't say it was you. There was some kids out there lighting fireworks, right? But it was cool because you got this older couple that lives right on the end of the street right here.
Oh, yeah.
And when me and Isala pulled up, she's like, oh, look how cute. I want to be like that, playing cards on my porch. And I'm like, yeah. Usually, them are the folks that call the police on you.
Yeah, not my neighbors.
Bruh, they had their chairs out in the driveway just, they're enjoying the fireworks, bro.
I am truly blessed with my neighbors. You know, I got Doug and Laura over here to the right of me. You know, we got Mitch and Angel across the street. You know, they're just great people, dude. I'm name dropping them because they're just really great people. You know, when we're away, they keep an eye on our home. When they're away, we keep an eye on their home. You know, scratch each other's backs, and there's never no cops being called whenever there's a party going on. You know, we invited them all and said, hey, we're going to be letting off some stuff tonight, you know, celebrating our country and my wife's 40th birthday, and we definitely did that. And they all enjoyed it as much as we did, so that was great. You're right. That's the great thing about this holiday.
That's the community, bro. And to me, community means coming together in unity, right?
Yep.
And I think that's why it's spelled out come unity, because
You're right.
we come together, man, in unity, and we move mountains, we make things happen, we progress. You know, all these bad things that are going on in the world, in this country, with rights being stripped away, or with rights not being evident and being painted different ways or whatever. The one thing we got to understand is our voice is the loudest when we're collective and we come together. So that being said, on the 4th of July, man, we just hope that you guys find it in your hearts to come together with each other.
Yes. Be safe.
Yeah, be safe. Enjoy each other's company. Life is short. As we talked about with the young man from the Baltimore Ravens, and then just our community, man. We know life is short. Life isn't promised. So come together and enjoy each other opposed to tearing each other apart. I think there's ample time for us to tear each other apart, but there's never enough time given for us to come together and build each other up. And I think that's how you get things done, man, is when we come together and build opposed to come together and tear apart. So
Yes, sir.
as we get into our last little segment that I came up with this segment called Victory Formation, bro. Because,
nice. I like it.
you know, anytime you get into victory formation as a coach,
We're finishing out.
oh, bro, you taking off headsets.
Yep.
You're like, yep, it's done. That's a great game, you know.
Let's wrap it up. This one's in the books, boys.
But I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, which right now is DNA Sports Training.
Yep. We're sponsoring ourselves right now.
We're sponsoring ourselves right now, but we're working on that. And if you're interested in joining the team and getting involved with what we're doing, whether it be on the DNA Sports training side, the DNA Sports podcast, or any other venture. Let's work. Me and Dom, we're eager to get out there and work with your athletes. If you've got a camp you want to put together and you just don't have the time to put it together, pass that over to us, man. We'll get it put together for you, organized. We'll run it. You want to bring some of your athletes in to help coach it, or bring in some of your coaches to help coach it, we'll organize all that stuff, man. Let's get it popping. Let's make it happen. If you're an athlete that wants to be better, wants to get better, wants to work harder, come see us, man. Come holler at us. Websites, DNASportsDenver.com. You'll be able to sign up for anything on there. Also visit us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What else did I put out there right now? YouTube, and there's even more. I think we're just trying to go full spectrum with it.
Yeah, and everything's still, again, in the pilot stages of us kicking this off. But I will say one thing towards those sponsors out there that are watching, listening, whatever the case may be, bet on us. All right, we don't need you to do the work for us. We need you to come be a part of this team, because we will put in that work to be successful. And again, success is measured in many ways, and we are going to put in that work that is needed for us to be successful and the athletes that we train to be successful. And if you want to be part of a winning brand, then come on over to DNA Sports, because that's what we're here for. I have confidence in myself, and I have confidence in my partner here that we're going to take this thing to the next level. So come on out, sponsor us, and invest in something great.
I couldn't have said it any better. Dom, this has been dope, man. First one in a long line of many.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
get it popping. Hopefully we can have some more. Again, DNASportsDenver.com. Thank y'all for tuning in. Hope you guys have a happy and safe 4th of July weekend, and we'll hit up with y'all next time.
See you later.